Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we're live.
Oh yeah.
And there's nobody here. But
They're like we should have a Star Wars, the 20th century.
Yes. Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
All right.
All caps. We are here.
Yeah, I see you on. Yeah, I got the YouTube up. So.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Yeah, if anybody does chime in for
Oh
chats,
wait, we're
let
gonna
us
have.
know.
There's going to be delays, I'm sure.
Yeah,
There's
there'll be
big
lag.
delays because I'm looking at.
Yeah, don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
say don't look
Don't
at.
worry about the
mute
YouTube thing.
your YouTube, your browser.
Okay.
That's what I've done.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got the YouTube up. I'm only going to be looking at the chat, but I got the video off.
Hey, Don.
I saw Don
Hey.
pop up.
Hey, ta-da,
It's
we
Don.
are all here.
We're all here.
Woo-hoo.
Man, it's been a while since we had
Damn.
everybody on one call.
Yeah, I know.
Who are you people?
I don't even know anymore. Who am I?
Wow, this is the delay over on YouTube is long.
Yeah, it'll be pretty significant. So we'll need to keep an eye on it for chats if people do come in. But my thought is that we just kind of discuss like we would on a normal podcast, just with the awareness that people can jump in. I guess we could talk about why we're doing this. Why we're doing this Kickstarter.
Well,
like,
I think
if only we had been broadcasting 15 minutes ago.
yeah.
Well, let us recap. Dawn's computer rebooted because it got too hot. I mean, just all go down the line, and it's like, oh my god.
And then my fan died. I have a little fan that you plug into the computer and it runs, and it's not working now. All of a sudden.
Oh, great.
Oh man.
Not the fan in the Surface, like that's still running. I can hear it running. I don't know why. I've never seen it do that, where it's just like I'm gonna die, so I might suddenly disappear at any given time.
We are
I
going to
just
get into
picture Dawn having a little mini fan by her laptop. They're gonna blow it.
I know. I should get one of those handheld ones and just hold it up.
I actually had a laptop that I had to put a little desk fan next to it when I used it, and just have it blowing on it, or else it would overheat.
I think we should go back to like bellows, like they had like Great.
Get an apprentice to pump the bellows while you work.
Our Kickstarter is here to fund a apprentice to man the bellows for our coal running podcast.
Can we have a pool boy to fan us and?
Yes, please.
Now you're talking.
Let's not get crazy. Just Zencaster and some microphones. That's all I'm asking.
Hey, go for $10,000 to get a pool boy. Come on.
That's the next reward level.
I think we'd meet that. I think people
like pool boy.
Oh, I'm in. Sign me up.
I mean, why not? Some guy got potato salad funded on Kickstarter, so
that's right. The potato salad. I don't understand people.
I don't.
I do think it opens up a lot of opportunities because a lot of the times we'll come up with something and we'll be like, "This would be really cool," but we're all poor, so
nobody has.
It's not happening. There's a lot of things over the years where people have floated some really neat ideas by, and we have just never had the resources to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So it is my hope that once we clear those first two goals, that we can start, revealing some pretty cool, interesting ideas on how we can make the site better, how we can make the podcast better. Because I think we've delivered a lot of quality, advice and support to, especially beginning creators, because there's not a lot out there.
No, there isn't.
I remember. You guys are gonna have to tell me, because I'm sure we all have stories. Like, what did you, when you were like, I think I want to do comics? Where did you look? What did you start? Because I know that for me, it was like this Google web search. If Google even existed at that point, it might have been an AOL thing. And I found like one person saying, "Oh yeah, you have to do it on this size paper." So I was doing everything on 11 by 17s, which was way too big. And other people being like, because I didn't have a scanner that was 11 by 17. God knows, I didn't think that far ahead. I didn't understand like the I'll make this in the real world and then somehow it will be on a computer. Like that connection hadn't happened yet. And another person was like, you have to do everything in blue lines. So I did everything in blue lines, like special blue pencils from the art store, which were terrible. Like, they always would break. They were the worst things in the world, but by God, I used them because that's what you were supposed to use. Like, there's all these things where I wish I'd had a resource that could have gotten me at least started a little bit more cohesively. And I feel like we've done that in the past 7 years. At least given people a place to ask.
Yes. And it was 7 years ago this week. I think it was around the 10th or 11th of October of 2010 that we launched the first site. Yeah. I think there's if you go back to the very first post, you'll see it's like, hello, and it's like October something.
So this really is an anniversary event, then.
It is. I mean,
I hadn't realized that.
Cool. It is very cool.
Wait, no. Let's not tell anybody that. We totally planned it.
We absolutely planned it. No. Anyway, no, we're artists. We didn't plan this.
We are, because our planning isn't it? That's what we're known for. Planning. Artists in general and planning. God, if I can just get someone to reply to an email, I'm excited. So.
7 years doesn't sound like a long time until you go, my son was 11 years old.
Wow.
Then you go, whoa.
Let's see. How did I get this sorted? 2000.
Well, I just ran away to grab something to say this is what I went by in the beginning. I don't know if anybody else has this book.
No.
But Your Career in the Comics by Lee Nordling. Lee Nordling. This was what I swore by because it was specifically about comic strips. And it was, how to send in stuff to syndicates. There are all these quotes from all editors at different syndicates and formatting and how the syndicate views the cartoonist and how the newspaper editor views the cartoonist.
And how things have changed.
Determining the need for a representative.
Oh, no, you know what?
Yeah, so I mean, like the contract, like all this stuff about what comic strip cartoonists go through. This is all pre-internet. This is when was this book printed? I mean, it wasn't when I bought it, but when was this printed? Let's see.
Well, there'd be no like, connect directly with a comic fan of your work, build a community. Like, none of that stuff was anything that you had to
95.
remotely worry about.
95.
Oh, wow.
This is perfect. This is about the time that I started sending in stuff to syndicates. Yes.
Wow.
It was 95. So it was printed around the same time that I started.
That's cool.
But
95.
But yeah, it was. And yeah, that was, I just followed what that book said. And then I didn't know anything about putting stuff online until I was trying to create a Flash site where I would post all like extra comics in case syndicates wanted to go to my site to look at extra comics. But it was done in Flash, so it was a piece of shit. And and so I'm like, is there an easier way to post something, like maybe like a free site or whatever? This is pre-social media, and so I found Drunk Duck, and that's how I got started, and that's how I was like, oh, this webcomic thing is like a thing. Like, I had no idea. I did not know about PvP. I didn't know about any of that, just over my head. So,
and when was Drunk Duck? When did you start that?
2007.
7. Wow. So 10 years. 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. A decade of dawn.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago. I started posting on there, and then, as I've mentioned a bazillion times on this podcast, but other things too, is 2 weeks from when I signed up, they decided to feature my comic, and I already had like 40 comics put up there. And a lot of people that found me because of that feature, they put it on the front page or whatever. A lot of those same people I know today. It's kind of crazy. That kind of stumbled on it. Like, I met like Mark LaPierre through that, and there's just a lot of people. Brock Heasley from Super Fogies, like a lot of people I knew from Drunk Duck.
Cool. And
but yeah, because you guys were talking about what it was like in the beginning and who got you started and all of that. well, books. And
yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. Well, originally back in '69, it was 1969 for you youngsters. I went to an art store.
So long ago.
Yes, it was a local art. I know. It was.
I'm sorry. As the baby, I have to make fun of the older gentleman in the room.
It is
there were
cool.
stores. You had stores back then. How'd you get there?
Yeah, we had to walk. Everything was steam
Uphill both ways.
You didn't have to hunt your comics down with a sword and a spear.
But what really got in 2010, when I started or 10. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry, 2007 when I turned 50.
Our memory's going.
Yeah, I know. The script. So a decade
We're all
ago.
terrible people. Poor Byron.
No, but I don't mind it because it is falling apart. It's like, but anyway, I did the Google search for comics online, and it showed webcomics, and it's like, oh, I never heard of webcomics. And Danielle's site was like third or fourth down, and I've told the story before. I clicked on that and I went, okay, this is me. She had swear words and talking about sex, and I thought, done. And that's and that's how then I applied that to my college stuff, because I've been talking about my college years to my son. And a week later, I drew Bud for the first time. And in March, I put up a very first website with one comic that of Bud standing there naked with a pencil, like the Daffy Duck thing where he was erasing. Or Bugs Bunny was erasing Daffy Duck in that old Warner Brothers cartoon.
Yep.
But anyway, and that was not WordPress. Front page. I built it with front page. So for the first year, my website was for all front page, and I did the RSS manually. I went in every time I posted the comic. I had to go in and edit the RSS feed manually. How it went. Oh yeah, see, but what really got going was the Webcomic Planet, Dawn. I think that's that Phil Hoffner ran. And that's where I met.
That's how I met you.
Yeah, that's how I met.
Sure.
And then Ken, and that's basically how we got together at C2E2 in 2010 and went, hey, why don't we do this? Because
how did we meet Antoine? Was he part of that too?
Yeah, he was the part of that. And Ken, and of course, Kurt, at the five of us. So yeah, that's how it got started. And then we decided to meet up at C2E2, and Ken couldn't make it, no, Kurt was there. So four of us, Kurt, Antoine, you, and I were there. Kurt was walking around videotaping, but anyway, and we had the booth, that corner booth. That first year in C2E2, we had a webcomics alley, and we had a corner booth. I mean, it was nice. They didn't do that anymore after that. And all that, and so it was really nice. But that's really what got me going on social networking. And I joined Twitter and all that stuff, but I didn't really start tweeting much until the Webcomic Planet stuff and all that. So yeah, and but that's really what, but I just did a Google search for comics online, and boom, webcomics, never heard of it, and here we are, 10 years later. And and all that, and it did what it was supposed to do. It taught me to draw again, and I got jobs from it then, like the advertising shit that I do and stuff. I probably should have put a PG-17 up or something on this, because I will swear. Sorry for you youngsters out there. Mommy, what shit? Anyway, and I'll try not to use the F word.
Rein it in, Byron. Rein it in.
I'll try. Hey, it's part of the drugs. Can't stop the old brain. But anyway, that's how I got started, and did the first comic in pencil, and said, screw this, because everybody said, oh, you got to scan it into Photoshop, and stick a pencil in my eye, and I hated that process. Yeah. And I immediately went out and bought Magnus Video and the tablet, and I've never done anything traditionally since then. I just and I do everything digitally, and because I'm lazy. It's just like, I am not doing all that crap. Are you kidding me? And it's just like, and I wish I had done both, because I'm really off on my traditional game, penciling and all that. And I am a good penciler. I like to pencil, so I am starting. I have some ink pads and stuff, and Liz got me all motivated, and I bought some stuff and markers, and they smell, they're alcohol, so I can smell them. So they're like, ooh, because alcohol gets through to you. So It's like sniffing glue. It's like, this is great.
Oh gosh.
That's the natural media experience.
Oh yeah. It's like, yeah, man. And so anyway, but that's so I'm trying to do a little more traditional. But you know, yeah.
You're going backwards.
I know. I did digital. Now I'm trying to go back to the traditional.
I'm going back in time. So yeah, my question is, how far back are we going here? Because I have this. I'm not going to pull it out because it's in my closet, but I have 11 by 17 Marvel tryout book. Oh, wow. So I have both of them. I have the original and the updated version. And before that, I didn't know the comics were drawn on 11 by 17. And here I am in a high school being a graphic, want to be a graphic arts guy. And I had to have these books to learn. Oh, comic books are actually drawn big, not actually at that actual size. So those were two big things for me. But I did a comic strip in college, the old traditional way, and I had it in a couple of local college newspapers. I had one strip in Virginia Tech and one strip in an alternative newspaper at Radford. They didn't last very long because I was in school, and I learned very quickly that, man, it takes a long time to do a cartoon and try to keep up your grade. So they didn't last very long. But then after that, many years passed, and then I ended up through a series of my web designing contacts. I ended up doing a comic strip for a now defunct website called Community MX, and it was all based on real people. And that taught me really quickly that you shouldn't do a comic strip based on real people because you're very limited in the kind of jokes you can sell because you're basing them on real people.
Depends on how many friends you want, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had a couple of really good friends that were like, I don't care what you do, just have fun with me. So a lot of them were like, do whatever you want with me. So I had a lot of fun, but I did that for 4.5 years, and that was through that time, I was getting immersed in Penny Arcade and PvP and Evil Inc. and all this other stuff, and during that time I realized I couldn't go very far with this comic strip because I couldn't make any products with it. But I didn't want to profit off my friends. So that's throughout that, it went all the way up to 2007, and that's when I started Capes and Babes. So that's how long I've been doing.
Yeah. All right.
So we have a couple of people in the chat.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Cat's Cradle. Yeah, you guys see him, so.
Yeah, and Adam lives in his head. I like that.
I like that too. Yeah.
That's great.
It's too crowded in my head to live. There's too many voices in there going, "Hey, how you doing?"
I'd include a link to our Kickstarter, but I just discovered that YouTube blocks anything with a link in that chat. So unfortunately, I cannot do that. But it is all over our Twitter and Facebook accounts right now.
And you just go to Kickstarter and search for Webcomic Alliance. Boom.
Yep.
It comes right up because we're like the only one.
We ought to take a moment to say thank you to everyone for a great first day. We are right now. We blasted through our first goal.
Yeah.
Which means that we can get Zencaster, a year of that, which will really help the audio quality. Should I talk about why that will help? Because I think it's really cool, but it might be too
Well, hang on one second. I won't read all the names, but we've got 14 backers so far. Tom Racine was our first one, and our last backer, our latest, was Kayla Ferran. All types of people have dropped in. C.A. Morgan, people I know, and so it's very cool that this all happened today. But yes, we can talk about the technology, the thing, because some people may not know what we're even talking about. Zencaster, what the hell is that?
Yeah. What I really am excited about is that the way that it works, what we're doing right now currently works, and part of why the audio quality is often so terrible, is that we're all signing on to Google Hangouts, which then kind of records everything in one big pile of audio and visual info. And it shunts it off to YouTube, and then we pull the audio out of the YouTube file.
Yep.
Usually in a low quality MP3 because that's the only format that we can get it in.
Yep.
And then that gets shunted into our podcast editing, sound editing software. And so everything is just one big mush. So if there's weird noises on one line, or if the connection is bad, or whatever's going on, it all gets in there, and it makes for a pretty terrible sound. Yeah. The way that Zencastr works is that the system records everybody's audio individually and locally. Yeah. So I will be recording on my system, no, phone line connection, no internet connection, filter on that. Mm-hmm. And then when it does afterwards, it takes all of those individual audio lines, pairs them automatically together, so there's no after the fact trying to scramble and figure out how to make them work. Yeah. So the audio quality is so much better right off the bat. So I'm very excited for it. Did I explain? You're the audio guru.
No, you did right? You did exactly fine. Everybody's going to be on their own track. It'll be a multi-track recording. So if Chris's dog starts barking or whatever, in the old days, I can mute that channel, because originally we did it with Skype, and Skype allowed to record or whoever hosted it, my voice separately, but everybody else was on one track. Mm-hmm. And sometimes my track would be louder than others, or vice versa, and sometimes you get all this coughing and noise. And I'm looking forward to this, because this is an audio guy's dream, because we can then mute out, I can amplify and even out everybody's voice levels and everything, so it's one consistent good sound.
Are we not going to have any more?
Right. And that one time, Robin turned into a transformer.
I think we've all been transformers at some point.
Yeah. We all break up, and it's just like, oh my God, it's terrible.
We can't let them know our dreadful secret.
That's right.
That we are actually automatons.
Yes, right.
Webcomic making automaton.
But the worst part about it is we go on these great tangents and nobody else can hear us, and then we go, "You broke up like 10 minutes ago." Oh, crap!
There's so much, I'll edit that out. I'll edit that. Don't worry about it. Just keep going. I'll edit that out.
Yeah. And sometimes I miss them, and it's like, but anyway. One time Ken had it recorded for me, and he had the entire end conversation. He forgot to cut it off. And so all the after chat was still on there. I'm like, oh my God, you don't want that on there. We're going to get sued.
Delete.
Oh, yeah. So I downloaded it real quick and cut the end off and put it back up. And he's like, okay. But anyway. But yeah, we'll avoid all that with Zencastr. And that will be great. And we'll be able to play some clips if we need to. So again, from my DJ background, being able to play some sound effects occasionally, or like the intro and all that, and or if we need to play something, if we have a guest on that has certain things, if we need to play a clip of something, we can do that now, and we couldn't in the past. So this is great. Plus, anyone can call in. We can have not just us. If we want to have guests on, anybody can join us. And like I said, and they don't need to install the software. They just log in at Zencastr.com and boom.
And it takes care of it.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for the possibilities that it opens up.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since part of what lit the fire under my butt to start pushing for us to do this. We've been talking about, should we do a crowdfunding thing for a long time, and what finally broke for me was that my laptop I bought into the Mac product line right before they upgraded all of their hardware. So I can't upgrade my hardware.
Oh, wow.
Because it's a Mac. It's like, what you have is what you have forever. It's not like a PC where it's like, just slot this out and put this in. It's all just a shell. No, it's a Mac, and it's made to be the way it is. So what's been happening to me is that it still runs pretty well, but all the software is moving on without it. So I can't upgrade to the most recent operating software. I can't install Chrome. If I can't install Chrome, it means I can't use Google Hangouts. I can't use Skype. I can't, all the things that we have been using to record, I can't use. So I went out and I got a tablet, which is what I'm talking to you guys with now, because I couldn't afford to get an actual computer. I could afford to get a tablet, but that's about as much as my budget went.
We'll see.
But it doesn't have any of the recording software stuff. I can't initialize the Hangout, so it's like I'm crippled. So
and that's what our stretch goal is for. Then when we go beyond this, we can start getting stuff like that. So if you need a new whatever laptop or something like that, and we can hopefully get to that level, do the microphones.
I think if I could just get a mic, because what I'm using right now is intended for a PS4. It came with a PS4 that we were gifted. It's a Bluetooth thing, but it is the only thing that I have that has both a mic hookup and an audio hookup in the same device, so that I can both hear and talk to you.
Okay.
So having a better microphone would be pretty great.
Setup is like the definition of duct tape and bubble gum.
I know, right? Jeez. Quite impressive that it's not entirely awful. We can hear you clearly.
Yeah. No, I was shocked that it worked out as well as it did. But like, I can actually show you because I got the video. The way that I've been recording is I will clip this clippy thing to my ear, so that the microphone hangs in front of my mouth. Because otherwise, I'm too quiet.
Yeah.
Most of it, whenever you guys are like, "You're so quiet. Why are you so quiet?" Because
it's like a little tiny harmonica.
Oh man. This is like putting your retainer on,
Yeah. All I'm imagining is Robin with the Bajoran earrings, but it's a microphone.
That's amazing. That's what I'm gonna start doing, because I am a huge DS9 fan.
I'm gonna say that's DS9. Yeah, I sense that.
I wanted to watch it for the 6th time today, and I forbear. I decided to watch a weird new anime, and I don't know if I benefited from that experience.
I love DS9, but I haven't been able to make it all the way through it. I need to just sit down and go all the way through.
It's best if it's just binged.
Wow, that's 7 seasons, isn't it?
Yeah, I watched it 5 times all the way through. You say that like it's like a downside.
Oh, that's like a whole week. You need to, go to Hawaii in just 24 hours.
It's great. I need background noise when I draw and do stuff, so I will just put it on. Just Netflix, take me away, and I will just sit and either draw or color because I need that background noise.
I'm right there with Robin. I just finished my 3rd watch through of like 12 seasons of Criminal Minds. So
wow.
That's Corey's favorite.
If video is on, I won't draw. I'll watch the video. I get too distracted.
That's me.
I can have music on, and then I really get into it, and then someone comes into the room, and I just crap myself. It's like, wow, and it's like, don't do that.
Yeah, I can do music and I can do podcasts. But if I'm watching a video or something like that, I will start just watching the movie, and then I don't get any drawing done. Well, damn, there went my evening.
And Christina turned into a robot.
I did?
See, this is what we're talking about.
No more robots.
Robot identity.
Hey.
That's right. She draws robots,
We're gonna have some robots, but Christina can't turn into a robot.
Just no robotic.
Podcast robots.
No robotic voices.
A little bit. It's digitizing it a little bit, but we'll forgive that your protocol for human interface has failed.
That's right.
We will not report you to the overlords.
She was on a Terminator, and she was on a Terminator in the video, so hey, don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, this is a random tangent, but on this tablet, they have this Siri, which I've never used before. And I still can't get every time I ask Siri to do something, I always am like, "Thank you, Siri." Like it's like it has no emotions. It's a machine, but
you're welcome, Robin.
It feels really rude not to say it.
I just use my phone. I'll ask my phone to do something, and then I'll tell it thank you. So. But
they recently updated things, and the voice. I swear to God, the voice is different. And it's really bothering me. I'm like, no. You're not the real Siri. I know who she is, and you're not the one. So,
I'm laughing hard at this because a couple years ago, before all the phones had like Waze and stuff like that, my wife got me a TomTom to go to conventions and stuff like that. But she uploaded Darth Vader's voice as a voice the system. I couldn't figure out what the direction. When you're driving with the TomTom, it'll tell you like, take a left, 2 miles for the left. I couldn't hear because Darth Vader was like, oh, that's all I heard. But every time he did something right, it said, this force is strong with this one, and that's all I heard. And I said, you gotta get a different voice. I can't understand that.
Oh, speaking of bow ties, I'm looking at the chat. I will get out my senior picture, you people. I have a bow tie in my senior picture in 1975. I am the biggest fucking dork. Oh my god.
Oh, there's the F word.
Oh yeah. Okay, kids.
There
Sorry.
it is. It's already... Clear the room.
We need to do, like beep it out like you do on live TV.
There's a delay. Well, actually, there's a delay. I could have put a delay on, but oh well.
Yeah, there is a lag, folks, from the chat.
Oh yeah.
It might be a pretty substantial lag. So, if you ask a question, and you're welcome to chime in at any time. We will see it. We will see it in the chat like that. But by your time, it will take forever before we respond to it. So we're not trying to be rude. It is like we're in a time dial. It's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
Exactly. We're in a time. We're ahead.
I blame robots.
The Terminator.
You have to turn the volume on.
I came out here to
turn the volume off because I was going crazy. I was like, "Oh wait, okay." Well, there's I could definitely tell, like when singers and stuff like that, why they wear those delay things. It's like, whoa, I'm going crazy. I mean, you probably know with radio, turn your radio down.
Oh God, yes.
And then you get those weird calls where they get into a loop where, sir, you got to turn your radio down. And the guy's trying to talk, and he doesn't.
What? It's you hang up on people like that. It's like, sir, you're too stupid. Goodbye. And I lost my train of thought there. Damn it. Well, I'm also chuckling at Chris's room behind you, Chris. I love it. That's
a sign of a messy. So there's. My baseball stuff is right there. My Captain America jersey, all my crap over there. Hey, you know what? The tryout book might be in one of those shelves. My bike, and over on the other side, you can't see it with my drawing table.
Sweet.
It is kind of funny, like what an artist's space kind of conveys about them. Yeah. Like mine is covered in notes, so it's like, so you have a bad memory. Oh, yeah. That's what we can tell about Robin.
Oh yeah. Well, here you see my monitor. Look at all the yellow notes down here. Yeah. Hey, idiot, do this, and 2 weeks later I go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to have done that.
Do you ever get used to the note being there, so you don't remember to actually read it anymore? It just becomes part of like the scenery, and then it's like, oh crap, I was supposed to be paying attention to those things. Whoops.
And then I have a notebook here that I wrote into, and of course it's behind the monitor. So I mean, yeah. Now you see why I thought stuff didn't get done. It's like, okay, I'm lucky I got the video done.
Brian also lives in the basement where he can't see anything, so the darkness.
All right, let me see. I can't take them off, but because there's too many. But I'm going to turn my monitor around. Maybe you can see.
Yeah.
All of my.
Nice. You got a fancy table. I want a fancy
all
table.
Of my badges.
I have a bunch of those too. I'm going to take you up to my study. I will show you.
We're walking with Robin. Okay.
And we're walking. And we're walking.
Oh, earlier
for anybody who's watching right now, you can tell we don't usually do video chats, so we're geeking out over like, I see you.
The light will take a while to actually turn on. But yeah, I have my wall of all the different exhibitors that I've just pinned up. They're like, a lot of them are stacked at this point. Oh, whoops. That's just gonna go right back there. This has kind of got a funny story to it. Let me see if I'm actually pointing at it. So this is a comic strip from one of the earlier Denver Comic Cons, and it's by a local artist that I was in a kind of a group with, and Stan Lee was supposed to be at that show. Like, he did this big announcement the year before. It was like, hey, comic, fans.
True believer.
Like you true believers, and they did it over the loudspeaker, so it wasn't like a secret thing. Everybody knew he was going to show up, and then he canceled last minute, and people were like, "Oh God, we're so mad about it." But then Captain Kirk, William Shatner, said, "Oh, I'll last minute show up to this show." So those two friends did this like comic strip that was about who could win in a fight. They were going through all the different celebrities, like who would win in a fight, Boba Fett or Yoda or whatever, like, and so the last line was like, who would win in a fight, Stan Lee or William Shatner? And the guy says, easy, Shatner wins by forfeit after Stan cancels his appearance. And they took that to get it signed by William Shatner.
Oh, wow.
So he's just going through like, next. And he gets this comic strip, signs it, pauses, and then just bursts into laughter. And they were like, that was by far the coolest moment of their comic making careers was that.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a great little story. Anywho.
Hey. Yes. Well, I know we're getting the whole tour of your plays. There we go.
Yeah.
I know.
My
Robin looks like she's in a music video.
Yes.
I'm about to be like, this is how you get this great lifestyle.
Here's my crib. Come down, check it out.
I have a husband who's caring and supportive. That's the answer.
Well, that's cool. But okay, now we're going to get the cricket sound. But there's something we talked about why we're doing it, and Will talked about kind of what started this. Did Liz and Christina get in on the conversation of how you got started?
Sorry.
And I could chime in before I have to go to bed.
Yes.
Because horses never stop eating or pooping.
And who do you go to bed with? What's his name?
The horse.
Byron.
Absolutely. Thank you. Carry on.
But not that one.
That's right. I'm Byron too. That's right.
No video necessary.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I feel like I'm the odd one out because I wasn't like super into comics when I was a kid. I mean, like we read Calvin and Hobbes and stuff and Garfield, but I didn't have like this big huge comic collection or something. And it wasn't until I got into high school that I started reading like manga. And I did some silly, stupid little comics, like little inside joke things, between me and friends, and and I would put them up on DeviantArt or whatever. But it really wasn't until later, like I went to school for animation and like doing storyboarding and scripting the best. So I really should have figured out that I, wanted to do comics. Is pretty much what that is.
Yes.
And it wasn't until like my husband and I kind of came up with the game that Adrastus was based off of. And I was like, oh man, this is like a really cool story. I'd really like to tell this because there's not enough like female characters that pilot giant robots. It's like, this is a really cool story and I'd really like to like do something with it. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I should like write it as a novel. Oh, maybe I should do it as a comic. It might be better as a comic. Kind of like went back and forth on that for a couple of years. And then finally I was like, okay, no, we're gonna do it as a comic because I had read like Sin Fest in like high school and found out about Girl Genius when I was in college. So I mean, I knew that webcomics were like this, little thing, but I didn't know how big it was until I started researching it. And was like, holy crap, like this is a thing that I could do. Like I could do this comic and put it up. So I got actually How to Draw Webcomics. And I think is it signed? I think mine's signed by either Dave Kellett or Brad Geiger. Can't remember who. And I can't quite reach it from here.
Well, you don't have your camera on anyway, so go. Sorry.
That's true.
See, guys, it's great. Yes, Liz, the static photo of your
of you and your horse.
You and your horse is pretty great.
Yes, my horse is awesome.
I mean, legitimately.
No, seriously, yeah.
Sorry, Liz. We're being smart asses.
But I actually started going to podcasts, like looking for info for podcasts. And I don't remember the Webcomic Alliance started like not long after I started Adrastos. And that's kind of how I like found out about, you know, Dawn and Byron and Chris. Cool. And I was like, oh, okay, like these people are pretty cool. Let me go stalk them on social media until, you know, they invite me to the party.
And it worked.
And it worked, yeah. See?
The real secret that no one, like, people are always like, how do I get more views? Like, make friends.
Yeah.
Talk consistently to someone with no intent to have gain come from it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy what they do and connect with them and support them. And if they ask questions or need a resource, help them out. Like, legitimately, I mean, that's the essence of networking, really. And that is a great way to get more eyes and more, you know, tangent, but related. I have been thinking about how so many of the people I would consider my close friends are people I've never in person met.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so many of them are through comics.
Yeah.
And some like Christina, I've met you now in person.
Yes.
So sometimes I will get to meet people, and for me, with so much anxiety and social anxiousness, the internet has been so helpful to get to know someone with distance. And so when I meet them, it feels like picking up where we left off, as opposed to that like really awkward first initial meeting. I mean, I still have that like, oh God, I was the worst, like that narrative. But I mean, Christina, you still talk to me, so I'm assuming that I wasn't too terrible when you met me in person. I'm assuming you would tell me at this point. I still talk to
you, Robin, and I've met you in person.
That's true, yeah.
Actually, I've met every one of you.
You have? I think you're the only person who
really
has.
Yeah.
I've met every one of you. I met
Christina, I think you are, Liz.
And Tom.
Yeah.
And Byron came to my house.
Yep. Holy crap.
And
links us all.
I am Kevin Bacon.
She's the Oracle.
She's the Oracle.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's never happened. Even when we had the original group.
Yeah.
Even when we had the original group, we could never get all of us together for a con. No. Someone always couldn't make it. One person always couldn't make it for a while.
But we did meet all, you know, the original 5. We did all get together. I mean, we've all met each other. That group. I met Ken, and you know, eventually. But yeah, I haven't met Chris or Christina or Robin personally.
You met me.
Oh, God damn it! That's right. Excuse me. It's Seattle. See, I just blanked on Seattle. I was.
It's hard when you're at a show because you're so overwhelmed.
It's Chris and Robin, sorry. Oh yeah, no,
by
you
just
really are.
So much going on, and it's like this constant bombardment. I really do think the brain just sort of shuts off. It's like this. There's normal life, and then there's convention time, and those are not.
Yeah.
They don't intersect at all. Like I always feel bad because I'm like I am. If you come up to me and you are a person who meets me at the table when I am at the table, I will be my best self for that person. But if you meet me behind the table, so to speak, or after the show closes, I will be my worst self because I'm so tired and overstimulated by human beings and anxious out of my goddamn mind. That I'm just like, I hate humans. I hate all of them. We're a parasite on
I'll
the
be
planet.
in my trailer. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Slam the door.
Because sometimes friends or I'll stay with family or something, like when I'm at a out of town convention, and so it's like they want to go have fun. They want to see me because they haven't seen me in a while. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm going to 4 days of hell, and I'm going to come back every single night exhausted and not wanting to talk to you. So, thanks for letting me use your room.
Yeah. When I was in Seattle, I stayed with Ryan Fisher, so I got to meet him. I'm trying to think of who I've actually met I've met Tom and Tom Racine and Irma. What the hell's Irma's last name? Oh my God, I'm blanking. Anyway.
Well, while you're thinking of it, special shout out to Tom for recording the fantastic narrator voice for the video.
Yes.
And high five Byron for putting together an awesome final product. That video is fantastic. And Tom's voice is just that like, oh God, I just could listen to his voice just forever. It's amazing.
It was a joy to edit with his voice because normally, as an editor, for 5 days I heard his voice in my head, in my ear, and normally by the end of that time, you just don't want to hear this person ever again. But Tom's voice was just every time I was chuckling every time when he goes.
Did it talk like him? Like after I kept watching it, I wanted to just go around talking like in that kind of storyteller voice.
Melodious, like
over mundane things, you know. Going to the bathroom now.
No, but he did an excellent job. I mean, he hit the mark on, and that was his first take. He did 2 takes. He did do 2 versions, but the second one was more like a guy from Monty Python. You know, it was more British and angry. You know, and I'm like, no, what? Oh no.
Yeah, he loves Monty Python.
So we have a question in the chat.
About floppies,
About floppies. Do you guys think the floppies are dying with sales so low? I think that's an interesting question. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, well, I thought he put flippies, and I thought that was an interesting nickname for a comic book because it's a flippy. But floppies works too. But go ahead, Robin.
So this is that sort of that question that comes up again, like, are comics dying? And I feel like I feel it's a much more complicated question, and I think comics are in shift right now. Like so many industries are in a shift right now. I do feel like there are certain areas of comics that are in decline, but there are also certain areas of comics that are in a massive, like Scholastic's run of comics are in bestseller lists over and over and over again. Like Rihanna's Smile is just topping charts just consistently. And when I was working in the school system, every kid read her comics, and Amulet as well. So like comics as a graphic novel format product, I think are experiencing a huge boom. It's just not in that gatekeepered environment, which is the comic store. I actually think that there is more. I think that there is problems with the floppy format because it is a high cost for a low time util. Like you can spend, I mean, movies are expensive these days, but you're getting 2 to 3 hours of content. Whereas if I'm spending $5 on a comic, it's going to take me 5 minutes to read it.
Yeah.
So graphic novels still give me that like sizable, satisfying chunk. Yeah. So the value is there. So the graphic novel market is doing well, but I don't think it's just floppies. I think it's also stores. And we've done a lot more in-store events lately, the past year, Corey and I, because we've kind of scaled down on cons because they're so expensive. But we've been doing a lot of like Escape Velocity and Muse and Time Warp. So if you're a Coloradoan and you're listening to this, check out those stores. Muse and Escape Velocity are in Colorado Springs and Time Warp's in Boulder. Or just the mega store down in Denver is also great. Anyway, but we've also been to some stores that I will not mention that they are like, I would walk in there and be like, okay, this store clearly does not want me as a customer. Yeah. Because it is dimly lit and it is dirty, and everywhere on the walls are these pinup girls where it's like, okay, I get it. You're really into Vampirella. And apparently, like, and there's just such an unwelcoming feeling. And, you know, people who treat you badly, who are supposed to treat you like a customer, or people who will hang up on you as soon as they hear your voice and you go, is it because I was a woman? Like, I've gotten to the point where I've learned to pitch my voice down like this when I call comic book shops. And I talk more metered. Just because I find that when I do this, they don't treat me as badly on the phone.
Wow.
Like that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So I think that is a contributing factor. I think that the stores that are doing well, the stores that I mentioned, are doing things to get other people in the door. And I can talk about one of those, but I feel like I've monopolized the time. No. I got up on my soapbox.
Yes.
If anybody else has thoughts.
I just did some Googling, and it looks like sales are down 25% from last year, and that's significant. That's a big number.
Just on floppies or overall?
Yeah, floppy sales. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I'm gonna take a optimistic view here. I mean,
I'm the pessimist, so it's good to have an optimist.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think they go in cycles. I mean, you know, the '90s were bad because the comic. It's also what the comic book companies do too. If you produce bad product, you're gonna get bad sales. I mean, the '90s were known for gimmick covers, the holograph covers, the one issue, and we're going to do 12 different variant covers, and all these holographic stuff. And a lot of it came from Image, but Marvel was doing too. And it was just all these gimmick type things that comic book companies were doing. So, but my question would also be another twofold question would be: are the as popular as the movies are, or is that what's killing the comic book companies? I mean, I hear what you're saying, Robin, but you know, nowadays it's almost like the comic book companies. You know, Marvel's owned by Disney and DC is owned by Warner Brothers. Those are commercial. Those are just commercial entities for the movies.
Yeah.
So
okay, this is an interesting. I want you to explain that more, because most people that I hear always like, I don't understand how comics can be, or at least superhero comics can be struggling if they have all these movies backing them. Like, usually it's presented like the movies should give the comics this huge boost, and you're actually presenting it the opposite direction. I want to hear more about what you're thinking.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's a. I mean, you're talking to a longtime comic book fan, but who loves all the superhero movies. But now, you know, I'm wondering. So CW channel is essentially DC Comics, Flash, Green Arrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning is coming out. Fox now has the Teen X-Men. Marvel has the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Netflix series, the Daredevils, Luke Cage, all this stuff. All the comics are transforming into movies and TV shows. I'm wondering if that has an effect on the comic book sales. Why buy a comic book when I'm going to watch the Defenders on Netflix? You know, and I think some comic book companies are still struggling with that. And in terms of sometimes what happens is that like next month, Thor and JLA Comics are gonna go up in sales. Why? Because the two movies are coming out. So I think you're going to see that kind of stuff. I think every time a movie in Luke Cage, the Defenders comic series went up as soon as Netflix hit. So I wonder if there's correlation between that. That would be interesting for somebody to research. Not me. I'm lazy.
So it affects one title instead of affecting like all comics. Like someone shows up at the comic book shop because they just watched or the latest Thor movie, they buy the Thor comic and they go home, but they don't buy a ton of floppies.
Right.
The one. So yeah, see like, you know, each title versus all floppies to people. And do they go back? Do people go back and continue to buy the floppies? Or is it just, I'm going to buy the one floppy and call it a day, you know? And do the graphic novels, if there's a collection, if the new Batman movie comes out, and then a bunch of graphic novels of Batman gets sold. And the floppies, you know, it would be, if you do some real in-depth research on that, it would be interesting to see what people are buying, what encourages people to buy. Do they go buy a graphic novel, or do they just buy the floppy because it's cheaper? Or, you know,
graphic novels are doing well.
Yeah.
So we know that there's at least the last data I looked at, graphic novels are on the rise and have been for a while. But that also could be that you can sell a graphic novel in a bookstore, or on Amazon, or like there's so many places you can buy a graphic novel, or libraries will have them on their shelves. But the only place you can buy floppies is at comic stores.
Yeah.
And comic stores are on the decline and have been for a while.
But it sort of goes hand in hand with that, though, because comic book companies are making, they don't make long 12-issue arcs anymore. They make short 6-issue arcs, and then they put it in trade paperback form and send it out to Amazon.
Or then they do a crossover and ruin everything. Not that I'm bitter.
Right. So it makes sense that the individual comic books are decreasing in sales, but the arcs, the trade paperback arcs, are increasing in sales, right? Why am I going to, and it makes economical sense for me to say, why am I going to buy this comic, these 6 comics, $3.99 a piece? I'm just going to wait 6 months and get the trade paperback for $15 at Amazon or Borders or all that other stuff. So,
yeah,
there you go.
You know what's terrible? Like, there have been a couple of comic titles that I've been like, damn it, I want to wait for the trade, but I really want this comic to do well. Okay, fine, I'll go buy the freaking individual issues.
Yeah. But that's when you're relying on a business like that, because that's the thing for me. Floppies are not like anything else that a normal consumer is used to buying. You go to a bookstore and you want to buy a book, and you don't want like a sixth of a book. You want the entire damn book.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand how floppies work. It's just a completely different model if you've never been exposed to floppy comics in a comic book shop. What? I have to come back every Wednesday? What? And so I think it makes perfect sense. I think it's just a weird model. It's always been a weird model to me. I've always preferred graphic novels, and I've come at it from the anime and manga stuff. So released over here, they always had those big, nice 100-page episodes that you could read, and that just makes more sense to me, I guess. Just, yeah, what can you do in 20 pages? I can't do much in 20 pages when I'm doing comics. So it's like,
Yeah, on a good day, my average chapter size is around 40 pages. When I'm keeping it under control. You also kind of, it leads into another thing that I was thinking about, which is it becomes that spiral problem where in order to pay for the material, the product corners start to get cut because the amount of content, story content, has been going down, and the amount of ad content has been going up. So I would rather read a graphic novel where there's no advertisements than buy a floppy where every other page is an advertisement, because it really messes with my enjoyment of the product. And it's kind of like there was a cheesesteak place that was amazing locally, but then they started cutting out, like they had all this, like these special sodas that we could only get there. I mean, this amazing mustard that we could only get there, and then they started cutting back all of those things, and the quality of their ingredients went down, and it was all, oh yeah, we got to cut costs. Well, they cut customers because Corey and I quit going, and after a while they closed their doors. And so it's like, I understand the numbers of it, but at the same time, it's it's like it's almost like a bleeding out kind of process. It's just allowing the product to linger in a weird sort of way.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so I have
real quick.
I'm going to save the comic book industry right now.
Uh-oh.
Here's what we do. We quit printing the comic books on glossy paper. We go back to newsprint and print the floppies on newsprint, go back to selling them for 50, 75 cents, whatever. We charge for the digital version, and we print the trade paperbacks on glossy. There you go. Now, it would never work.
The Japanese model of, like, you can get
you can get
these massive, I mean, they're like 2 or 3 inches thick sometimes, and they're all on the cheapest paper you can get, and they're all black and white.
Yeah.
But they're cheap as hell to buy, and there's so much content in there. They're kind of amazing.
Yeah, because it's all on newsprint. It's not the slick glossy magazine type things. That's why comic books are $5 now. But I don't know if it would ever happen, but it would be cool if you could do some way that we're talking about webcomics. We are webcomics. You could put some kind of model together where you have some, or maybe not the entire line of your whole comics, but you put a couple on newsprint for kids could get back into buying affordable comics, and then you have a lot of digital content where people can subscribe to it and stuff like that. I think that might be a way to get back to that. But then the trade paperbacks, making it more appealing, would go back to the newsprint. I mean the glossy magazine type printing, where you have the newsprint or you have the really super glossy stuff. So
Well, the issue you're running into then is not just production costs.
Right.
You're running into distribution costs, which, if someone could help me with secrets of distribution, because I'm starting to realize that conventions are getting less and less profitable, and I cannot get to enough of them without losing money. Because even if I make several $1,000s, it's like, great, I spent several $1,000s getting and staying here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
shipping
the books there, staying there, food. So it's like, okay, I got to find other ways to move this product. Where do I even start? So I'm like, Corey and I are making lists of comic book stores that we're just going to have to call or write persistently, individually, and pray that some of them will even respond.
Well, what about Amazon? I know one of my clients sells her books, and she's very successful selling her, and she self-publishes her books. It's a self-care book thing, and she's on Amazon and sells a ton of them. But she has a huge blog too, so she has thousands and thousands of followers. Yeah. Everything. So so she didn't do it overnight, which is what we always say. So I'm just saying, so I'm just saying, maybe Amazon. That if I were trying to sell books, I would go to Amazon, because getting into the bookstores and all that today is hard. Yeah,
it is. I've thought about it, but there are some complications that I've run into. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe at some point I will reach a point where it is worth it. But it essentially, one of the things that was a big stop for me a few years ago when I looked up into it was that Amazon basically sets what your prices are allowed to be, so that they can undercut you. So I cannot sell my own stuff independently for less than basically a set amount, and then Amazon will sell it at a deal. So maybe that's changed.
I'm not aware
of me.
I'm not aware of that, and I haven't gotten into the details of her contract, so I don't know. But anyway, I wasn't aware of that. I'll have to find out, because if that's true, that sucks.
And that's why in the end I was like, pass. But it might get to a
I'm sorry, the businessman in me going, why would they care? Because if they're selling the book for 14 and you're selling for 25, where are you going to buy it? You're going to buy it for 14 at Amazon. So why would they care what you price it at, as long as you don't cut them? Obviously they wouldn't want you to undercut them, but
that's the whole. Yeah, like I want to have control of how right. I don't want to be like, I'm offering a sale. I'm like, no, you're not.
Okay. Right.
But I do know they control. I might get to a point where I no longer care. We will see.
Well, but
I got 1,000 books in my basement. I got to move them somehow.
Yeah, but when you get a distributor, they're going to take 30-40%, right? They're going to take a huge chunk, huge chunk.
If you can even get in. I know that Iron Circus had like award-winning books, and Diamond would not take them.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like, really?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No,
I feel like that's a tangent.
And Liz, you got to go.
Yep, I'm gonna cut in and get off the chat here, because I gotta wake up early, and I've had like 5 hours of sleep the past 2 days.
Fare thee well and sleep well, friends.
Yes.
Hi guys.
Good night, Liz. Thanks for joining us.
Good night, Liz.
Good night.
Yeah, and there he goes. Thought she'd never leave. She knows.
I miss her already.
Hey, goodbye.
and all that. But let's it's top of the hour, and which I'm fine to keep going. But why don't we talk about real quick the Kickstarter, because that's the PBS style, and is hey folks, we need $10. You got $10.
Well, how about we talk about some of the rewards that we've got going on?
Sure.
On that Kickstarter, because
I should know that, shouldn't we?
So we're going to be setting up a sponsor page. So if you have a webcomic and you'd like it to be featured, your URL will be featured there on the sponsor page. But I think the one that I like the most is, and we've had a couple people take us up on this one, is that in Byron's melodious tones, because he's got that great announcer voice, we will be recording sort of sponsorship slots. So, this sponsored by, and then your name here. So
cool. Hey, we picked up, and we also just picked up 2 backers since we've been on the air. So go ahead.
Awesome, thank you.
466
backers.
Yes. Go ahead. Keep talking about what we're doing. So, yes.
Oh yeah. So that's the credits in the podcast is the $20 level. And that also comes with, on the sponsors page, the wallpaper. So there's a lot of these where they come with they stack up. Mm-hmm. If you guys are interested in what we do, we've got a PDF bundle, digital book bundle, $25, which is like, God, how many books? Too many books. 6 books? Lots of books.
Yeah.
How many of us there are? I can't count.
No, there's a ton.
Digital books. There's Ley Lines Volume 1, Adrastus Volume 1, 1977, The Comic Volume 1, Somnolus Volume 1, Zorfbird and Fred Volume 1, and Capes and Babes Volume 1, all in format for $25. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is a lot of content. If you're more of a physical copy kind of person, the $50 pledge level will buy you 3-book bundle from our kind of library. We got a collection of different books, and we've listed on the rewards page like all the different books that are from that library. So if you wanted to get like Byron's Road Trip, and then you wanted to check out like, I don't know, volume 3 of Capes and Babes, and grab the 2nd volume of Somnolus, that could be your choice of collection. So we also have,
and Christmas is coming up.
Christmas is coming up, and we will get these shipped out ASAP, because it's not like this content already exists. We don't have to wait for it to come off of a boat from China or anything. It is existent already. We also get asked a lot if there's 2 things we get asked a lot. So we made 2 different backer rewards for it. One is people are like, I want to be on the Webcomic Alliance podcast. And I'm like, we'd love to have you. So we have a Be Our Guest at $75. It'll be an interview spot where you can talk about your work, your stuff, and hang out and chat with us. And
then I can hear your zipper.
Robin,
I'm sorry.
The zipper is banging.
I was trying to figure it out this whole time.
I'll hold it up like this.
No, it's okay.
Next to my mouth.
I was like, what is she hitting with her hands all the time?
And then we
Sorry to
also
interrupt
get
you. Go ahead,
requests a lot for critiques, where people are like, I want to know, what am I doing well? What am I doing poorly? What can I fix on my comic? And normally we're like, we are not a critique site. We are more of an educational advice, that kind of thing. So we are actually offering at the $100 level a in-depth critique, a written critique of your work, so that you can get, sort of the collection of all of our different experiences and perspective on your comic. That's not something we ever really offer. So that is Kickstarter.
Sorry,
and
Sorry.
Sorry. And the last one we've got is commission drawing at $150 from any one of these artists by your call. I know Byron and Chris both do some awesome caricature work. Christina Dawn and I are more illustrative. Although I'm going to be doing a cat portrait coming up here for a certain someone. I'm very excited. I think I'm going to do watercolor for it. Jen might still be on the call, actually. I think that might be the same Jen that I'll be doing that for. So,
yeah,
this is cool stuff. That's a great list. Mm-hmm.
A couple of these tiers are like limited. There's only 4 left of the Be Our Guest, and 4 left of critiquing your comic right now.
Right.
So if you want to get in on those, I would advise doing that sooner rather than later.
They'll go, because I went over like the first day of Danielle Corsetto's. I was going to get like the ultimate thing for like $200 and some odd, and it was gone. And I thought, it's been on here for like 30 minutes. And it was gone. But anyway, so I did get like the $150 level or something like with it. But, but it's like, they go, not that we're selling as fast as Danielle, but yeah, things go fat quickly and all that. So, yeah.
There we go. I got my microphone up like a retainer, so hopefully that we'll have no more clicking. This is how I usually record the podcast these days. So.
It does look like a retainer.
It does, yeah.
Sorry, Robin.
I'm just gonna eat this. Don't mind me.
It's all stuck in my braces.
I was going to say, we didn't mention this in the tier, but anybody who buys a hard copy of book from this whole thing from Capes and Babe's book, I will put a sketch in there too.
Oh yeah.
So I have a blank page that I do that for everybody. So
yeah, the first inside page of the book, I will draw something.
Yeah,
I draw something. Even if they don't request anything, I still draw something in there.
Yeah,
like a penis,
The worst.
Hey, Mom. Oh! No.
Well, that's all for me. I'm getting one of your books now.
That is what I want. That content.
Yes. If you want that, tell me. I ain't draw anything. I'd buy that for $1. And
that's the exclusive PDF version of the book. Charge more for that one.
Dr. Manhattan for me, please.
Yes.
Anyway. That's the code for it. I'll have a Dr. Manhattan.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Okay.
Watchmen. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Or as my wife refers to the movie, the Blue Man Group.
The Blue Man Group.
Nice. Blue Man Group.
God, now I've got that horrible Dabba D song in my head. Thanks for that, Chris.
Yes.
And you're welcome, anyone listening. I'm sure that's exactly what you wanted out of your podcasting experience.
Oh, hang on here. Let me.
Everyone's kind of like, how does that go? No!
Go down that road. Don't go down that road.
Well, we were talking a little bit about comic books. When Watchmen came out, I went to I did a Capes and Babes promo. I met an owner of a multiplex thing, and he's like, "Oh, we're bringing." It was actually pretty cool. He had a bunch of people, comic book creators, come in and set up tables in the lobby. We couldn't sell anything, but we could pass out promotional type stuff. And then he gave us passes for the midnight show for Watchmen when it first came out. And so, cool. I got my wife to come. We got a babysitter for my daughter and my son. But I could not believe how many 10-year-olds were at the 12 o'clock showing of Watchmen. I'm like, do you know what your kids are getting ready to watch here, people? It was just amazing.
Real quick. That one video, like the weird, like the Saturday morning cartoon version of Watchmen. It's just like so terrible. Like, no, don't tell the kids.
There was? Wait.
Put that in put a link to that in the chat because I've not seen that. I would like to see that.
Unfortunately, chat will block any links.
No, our chat. I think our private chat, the private chat over here.
Oh, okay.
Our chat.
Okay. I'll find it later because I'm on my tablet. But it's like this like Saturday morning cartoon like intro jingle about like you best watch out for the Watchmen, and it's like, oh my god, so wrong. It's hilarious.
No man.
Oh my god! Wow.
And real quick, let me say out our last three backers here. The first name to Tasha and guest and Rebecca are our three backers while we've been on here.
And Rebecca, guys, you know Rebecca, Chris. I call her Bex all the time.
Yep.
Do you remember her from Comic-Con? Yeah, I've been texting with her sitting here because she's watching the Indians game right now, and so we were texting back and forth. And I mentioned, I'm like, well, I'm on a podcast right now, so I believe she's watching. So everybody, wave hi. Hi, Bex. Basically, my cousin.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Sorry for all the swearing.
So she'll see that. She'll see that in about 5 minutes once the delay kicks in.
Yeah,
and then she'll text me back.
The lag is significant, I believe. So again, chat, we're not ignoring you. If you ask a question and it takes a while for us to get it, it just takes a while for it to process. But thank you for your questions. I thought that the floppy question was interesting. Is it's just something I think about a lot because we're webcomics. We make up our own rules, but there's also sort of like limitations that you run into when you try and translate that online experience into a physical experience. And there are a lot of bugs that still have not gotten worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I think the comic books, I wanted to mention this too when we were still talking about that, but with the comic book shops, the ones that I see doing really well are ones that are basically saying, okay, the old model doesn't work anymore, new model, and they're making their store a community place to go. They have all sorts of fun events. The one I do they have all these clubs. They have a women's club, they have a kids club, teens club, they have a gaming club, they have like an LGBT friendly club. They have all these different clubs, and people come in and they do all sorts of different things. A crafting club, so sometimes it's not even about comics per se, but they basically use their as like, when there's not a Comic-Con in town, you can come geek out here with us during one of these fun events.
Escape Velocity I was mentioning earlier does the same thing. Like they have a geek girls night out, and they'll have guests, and they'll have wine, and it's like a evening event. And they'll have like book clubs where you can talk about like, oh, we're going to talk about Black Widow collection, yada yada, or whatever. So it's sort of a day for the ladies to kind of have a soiree evening at the comic shop. Muse does like
poor Robin with that microphone.
So good. I'm literally eating the cord.
Keep your thought real quick, Robin, because we are just $9 away from being 50% to the 1,000. We're at $491.
Ooh.
Very exciting.
So you'll get a new microphone and stop eating cord. Go ahead.
Stop eating cord? Yeah, that'd be great. Because not the tastiest thing that I could have. Like, I'd love to be snacking over here, but no. The only thing I'm eating is this electronic wire. I'm like a rat that's gotten into the system.
We should put that as one of the things, is watching Robin eat her microphone.
Yeah, delicious. Good thing this is recording live.
Help Robin improve her diet.
Yeah. No more electric cord. Not for human consumption.
You should fake getting electrocuted, and we'll get some some pity pledges. And you can set up a GoFundMe page for your health bills.
Keep me out of the hospital.
Oh, someone at the chat. Oh, you got it, Robin? Thank you.
I got it. I can eat microphone and answer chat questions and text.
Oh, wow. Look at you. So anyway,
fancy.
Laura, yes, it does. Looks like.
Fancy.
We'll say anything right now for $25. So
yeah, it's got the mention in the podcast, the wallpaper, and it should also be included under the sponsorship. Basically, anything above that $10 level, I believe includes the sponsored listing on the site.
Cats and Cradles says, "What? Something about tomorrow's a painting day. Any recommendations? What does that mean? I'm not sure." Oh, what are you painting? Chris?
It probably depends on. Are you looking for prompts, Jen, or media, or like
murals?
Yeah, your wall space.
Faces,
Because I got this big empty spot behind me, so sky's the limit.
Well, I recommend the blue painting tape is great. It's great for painting, but it's fantastic for posting stuff on your convention table. Because I switched.
That makes sense, yeah. Because it doesn't.
I switched a long time ago. I switched from duct tape to painting tape because it comes off real easy and it's not as destructive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And right here, I use it for 3D printing. I put it on the bed right back here. And
it's amazingly strong too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It comes right off.
Yeah.
I need to pick something up because I've been doing more watercolors lately.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using masking tape, but sometimes the masking tape will take some of the paper with it. So it's always that please don't destroy the thing I worked hours on. Because watercolor, I still don't, I'm in a love-hate relationship with watercolor right now. Because it's just weird. It looks like you've made a horrible mistake. until about 95% of the way through. And then suddenly it looks amazing. So the whole, like, for my anxiety, that's just great. Because the whole time I'm like, what? No, just keep going. It's like, it's just constant panic.
Yeah, I can't do watercolor for that reason. Maybe I don't go far enough or something like that. Maybe I stop at the 50% area and just go, oh my gosh, this looks terrible, I'm stopping. But yeah, watercolor's a tricky beast.
Yeah, you have
you gotta let it drop.
Like every time I post, like, oh god, I'm somewhere. All my friends who are like watercolor experts and awesome, like Noel, they do amazing. They did a numinous tarot card project, which is incredible. I'm so excited. I backed that one. I'm very excited to get it. But they do incredible watercolor work, and they were like, yeah, this is normal. This is all normal. This is how watercolor is. You'll hate everything until the end, and then you'll love it.
And Laura took us over $500.
Oh, you're awesome! Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. 516.
Nice.
I was going to mention that since Cat's Cradle was asking about acrylics, the only thing I haven't worked in acrylics in a long time, but I can tell you from college experience that when you're working with deadlines, and if you have a whole bunch of acrylic painting that you have to do, a hairdryer comes in great. So you paint a little bit, put the hairdryer down, paint a little bit, put a hairdryer down. Oh, and a 6-pack of Joel too also comes in.
I really
you got to
like
stay awake to do your projects.
The piece behind me up here I did in acrylic.
Cool.
So like what I like about acrylic also is that you can mix stuff into it. So like I don't know if you can see the sort of mica shine on that.
Not really, sorry.
But that's probably isn't.
There you go. Okay.
The light, yeah. There's like different pastes and bases that you can buy that give it a different kind of body, which I find just really interesting. So you can water acrylic down, but you can also kind of build it up differently. Because I mean, oil's got that really nice thickness.
Not to mention smell.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm a huge fan.
The turpentine with oils, those are great. You didn't need drugs in college.
Oh God, yeah.
Paint with oils and that turpentine. That's good. I'm just gonna put anything up on the palette now.
Modern art.
Oh come on, what's it doing here? Oh, sorry. Why? I'm trying to do something. Yes.
Jen asked in the thing, what other medias do you all like to work in? We've kind of talked a little bit about acrylic. I've talked about watercolor. I recently started getting into markers because my aunt sent me a thing of chameleon markers. Have you guys seen those?
No.
I've seen them, but I haven't.
I'm going to grab them because they're really cool and interesting.
You do that, and I will get my markers I just got out.
You guys want markers? Here's markers.
Yeah, I'll go well.
I'll show you markers.
Give me 3 markers at the screen now.
That's why my studio is all messed up because I was working on a commission last night and I got markers all over the place.
So these are chameleon markers, and what's interesting about them?
Sorry.
What's interesting about them is that they have sort of 2 components. They've got a color component. And then they've got a mixed component.
Oh, the blending.
So when they're for blending. So when you use them, you uncap the color component, and then you slot it into the mixing component, tilt it over, and let it kind of soak in for a bit. So when you put it onto paper, it's really, really light, and then it darkens as you use it, as the mixture bleeds out.
Oh.
So it allows you to do like really interesting gradient work.
Sweet.
Because the one thing I always drove me nuts about marker work is I always would get the really harsh lines because I was never good at laying it down, and it drove me crazy.
Me too.
The chameleons prevent that from happening.
Sweet. Well, I just got this set, and because Liz, like I said, Liz, didn't challenge me, but she's talking about it. I was like, okay, I'll give it a whirl. I got some papers she recommended, and I found these on Amazon. I bought a cheap set, they're Colorama or whatever they are, because I know, but they are alcohol, and they seem to blend okay. But like I said, I've never done it, so I just have to. I'm watching some tutorials now, but YouTube's the best. God,
it is.
It really is.
I think that's like why when I wanted to do watercolor, I was so nervous about it, and I just got on and watched YouTube video after YouTube video, and I picked up so many great tips that I would have just like I didn't. There's apparently like there's a wet on wet method and a dry on wet on dry method, and I had no idea the two. Like I always just poured water on it, and then I was like, why is everything running? Because that's what you set it up to do, you dingus. Like so. Watching all those tutorials really helps produce some really exciting effects as a beginner. So I got to like avoid. I guess that's what I hope we do on the Webcomic Alliance. I don't view us as like we're not the. I don't view us as any of us saying, "Oh, we're the experts. You have to do it this way." It's like here's how I've tried things. Here's what I've learned. Here's the mistakes I've made. Please don't make the same mistakes. Please build off of what I know. And if what I do doesn't work for you, there's 6 other people in this group who have totally different methodologies, and you will find your own path. Because I feel like that's what we're kind of all about. Is we're all about finding one's own path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no set way, and that there is a community out there, and I think the webcomic community is one of the strongest communities. They're accepting. Most people will answer questions, and you're very welcomed, and it's safe. Environment. Where you can share stuff, and people aren't going to bully you or laugh at you or anything. They're going to say, hey, that's great, or you can do this, or you try this. And because that was what got me going through the first couple of years, was because people like at the Webcomic Planet and on Twitter and all that would encourage me, because I was not very good at drawing, and they're like, hey, you're this looks the same, or if you try this, you try that, and it challenged me then each year to improve. And so I think that's really what we're all about, even for the past 7 years, is we've all grown, but we're still experimenting with different things. And like I'm trying watercolors now, and we're acrylics or whatever, and but it's all about the digital, the online community. And I think it's great. It's got me through some really tough times, and I really want to say thank you to everybody out there. I mean, not only the gang here, but the whole community has been so supportive and caring. And when I really needed something, like I needed $800 one time for some medical bill, and bam, somebody put together a bunch of shit, and they got it for me. And I was like, wow, I've never been in a community of any type that did that. And I think it's great. Sorry. There you go.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the weepy, heartfelt part of the.
Yes. This is please.
It means so much.
So
play some violins.
Dawn's seen my, since we seem to be always sitting beside each other at conventions, she's seen my marker set up. So she knows that I carry almost all my marker crap in a big, huge duffel bag. But my cool little tip for people who work with markers, I primarily use Prismacolor markers.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some Copics. The Copics and the Prismacolors are about the same size, roughly, in terms of length. So here's my cool little tip, that the markers fit into a nice little plastic carrying case, and these are actually 4x6 photo cases that you can buy at any craft store. So, and they fit 12 markers in each case, and then after that, you can get a bigger case like this.
Holy shit! Wow.
Which holds all the markers, or not all. These are not all my markers. These are just some of them.
Dang.
But when I'm organized, each case is color coded. So I have grays, I have yellows, I have flesh tones, I have pinks, blues, all that together. Like for example, the one I held up was my blue, all my blues right here, and I can see through them. And then I can work with them at a convention. Cool. And I bought these. Funny story about that is if anybody has a container store near them, what I did was I took my markers into the container store, and I saw these on sale. I'm like, oh, I wonder if my marker will fit in there. Sure enough, I put them in there. I bought the whole case right there on the spot.
That's smart. I always forget to bring stuff with me, and my ability to judge size for things is not accurate. So I'm always like, I think it's about that big, and then I'll get it home, and I'm like, so it's 3 times as large.
See, women like you in college, I got along with really well.
Well, I just recently did that with. I did the same thing with sketch covers. Sketch covers, for people that don't know, we're talking about comic books. Comic books companies are creating these variant covers that are blank, called blank covers, blank sketch covers, whatever. They're really hard to find something to display on because I have a huge stack of them, and I was having trouble finding a good container to put them on my table. Went back to the container store, brought one of my comics in on with the backing board in a plastic, like this.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And it's perfect for. They had a mesh DVD container. Fit perfectly in there, so now I'm putting that on my convention table, and it saves a whole lot of space. So I do what I've done this with IKEA also. I've gone to IKEA, and when I go to IKEA, I'm not looking for furniture. I'm looking for convention stuff.
Oh yeah.
How I can do it yourself, things like that. What can I use on convention tables, things like that. So you can find all sorts of stuff, really creative stuff. Like my portfolio thing on my table is a little plastic laptop thing they sell at IKEA for $4. It's perfect for raising your portfolio on your table, so you get a little bit more rise. So you can find all sorts of cool things like that. I'm always trying to, do yourself sort of. Kitchen utensil. I mean, if you go into like Walmart or something like that, in the kitchen section, you can find all sorts of cool containers that you can use for who knows what.
I like fish tackle kits for stuff.
Yeah, tackle kits.
Tackle boxes. Yeah.
I use those for my modeling paints and brushes and all that, and they're all of them. They're great.
Yeah, I have one that. For that.
Yeah, I used to have
my little guy here.
Yeah, I used to have one around here. I don't know where one is.
Oh, my little tiny one. Isn't it cute?
Yeah.
Cute.
I just realized I can show you guys something. We were showing like badges. This is a tradition I started for shows. So this is my carrying case. And it's the ugliest orange I could buy. And then for every show, I've put a sticker on it. On one of the little panels. So every single show I've been to has a sticker. We finally this year filled out the first side, so we're having to flip it and fill out the back side now. So it's sort of one of those things that we don't buy much at shows, because if we did, we would spend everything that we made.
Oh, yeah.
But we can afford to buy stickers, so that's like our one.
That's a nice collection.
Show expense. Cool. Yeah, it's a fun little. Like decals and all sorts of stuff around there. That's very cool.
And Dawn will recognize this. This is my drawing. This is what I put my pencils in. And you see the C2, but that's from the first 2010. That Ghostbuster guy came by the table, and I asked him for a sticker, and he gave that to me, and I put that on there. And that holds all my pens, and pencils. More pencils than pens, because I'm a penciler. But yeah, This is in my briefcase all the time. With a paper. I take this everywhere I go. It's always with me. Even though I don't use it.
it's harder to lose something that's always with you. Like, my problem is that lately, every time I sit down, I'm like, yes, I have some time to work on stuff. And I'll sit down and be like, I don't know where my binder is. I don't know where my pens are. And I don't know where, I have to have, the dummy book that I use to sketch out, thumbnail sketches and stuff. So I need to get that. Then I need to get my special binder that has my reference stuff in it. Then I have to get the paper for it, and then I have to get my ink pens. And getting all four of those things in one space lately has been a just indomitable challenge. So it's good to keep stuff with you.
Yes. I have a stack of paper because what I carry with me is printer paper, because I just draw real doodles on it. It's probably 2-3 inches thick, easy over here. Of all the sketches I've done since beginning of time that I did, some are horrible and I throw them away, but most of them I keep, and they're over there, and I always date them and stuff like that. I think it's important to keep that kind of stuff. Someday my sons will go, what the hell? They got to throw all this stuff away. But, in the meantime, it reminds me of, how you've improved. You can go back through there. It's like, hey, I like doing that. It's like going through your archives. every so often. I go through my archives every so often to remind myself, yeah, I can draw, and I've improved.
I've got I take printer paper. I like cut up printer paper into quarter sheets, and that way, like if I want to doodle something, I don't get too invested in it, and that encourages me to like doodle something real quick, and then this page layout isn't working, I'll throw it away or whatever. And what I got for it was a coupon organizer at Staples or something like that with like different tabs, and so I keep all my sketches that I'm like, oh, that's a kernel of something, that's a little seed of something that I want to develop later, maybe in a digital format, and I'll file it away in that little case, and then I have that, and I can carry it around, and I can pull it up, and it has the little tabs so you can write your own thing, and so I know, oh, this is I wanted to draw this one character, and so I can label it by characters or whatever. So that's my little trick.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the two things I can
go ahead
and talk about. So we're talking about markers, and Copics are so expensive, and Prismacolors, they're okay. This is kind of in the middle, but I found it at like just AC Moore or whatever. But they're just these little design marker is literally what it's called.
Okay, hold it still there for a second. We're done.
There we go.
You see it?
I can see it.
Okay.
You have to talk in order to, you have to make sound in order to
I just happened to
the video. So you go quiet.
Dawn, say something and put that back up there, because I was an idiot and I was talking and it came back to me. So go ahead and say something and hold it up there.
Say something. Okay, so yes, design marker by
I was trying to hold our
I saw a flash that said design.
It's all right.
By a company called Premiere.
Oh, okay.
Premiere design markers, and they have like the dual tips, just like, and Prismacolors do. They blend a little bit better, I think, than Prismacolors. And like you were saying, Robin, how you can't stand when you get the lines. I think these are a little bit better at giving you a flat color. Love to try those chameleon ones you're talking about.
They are cool. They have turned me around on the whole marker thing, because I was very anti-marker for a pretty long time.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm like, markers are pretty cool. You can get really vibrant colors out of them. That's pretty neat.
Now, Dawn, for your camera to turn on, Dawn, you have to talk. So say something.
So this is also what I use. And Byron will recognize it. He knows what it is. It's a Pentel brush pen.
Okay.
I don't know if you can. Probably can't see much of what it looks like, but yeah. And you gave me one of them when I couldn't find mine.
Yeah.
But that's what I use to ink.
Okay, now I have a brush pen too from Jet Pens also, but is the tip really flimsy or is it firm?
This one's a
little flimsy. Brush. It's literally like bristles, like a brush.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna be able to tell.
The one I have a hard time. I had to be very, very careful with it because the brush, the tip is very loose. I guess I'm trying to describe it. It's not. I like a stiff brush, so I can control the ink flow. I'll have to check it. I'll have to check that brush out the next time.
You probably wouldn't like this then.
No,
you wouldn't because it's literally like it's a.
Yeah.
I find them a little too flexible for me. I use Winsor Newtons now. I'll get some India ink and I'll use Winsor Newtons. Although I read the riot act at the art store by the person there. She goes, "You're using Winsor Newtons with ink? Oh, you'll destroy the brushes. Like, it's the worst." Like, what am I supposed to use? You may as well just use the cheapest thing. So I bought a whole bunch of really cheap stuff, and I'm like, well, these are terrible. Why am I using these?
that's the line they make there.
Yeah, it's really
it goes
for me. For that line is really flimsy, and I like a little tighter line. So I mean, a tighter brush. It's easier to control for me. But here's my other cool marker trick, and I learned this from my Illustrator professor in college. So if you're ever running out of a clear blender marker, and you're in an emergency, you can take alcohol and Q-tips and use that as your blender. And it will actually, Robin, you could experiment with this, because doing that will actually get you a cool watercolor effect. Kind of. If you do it right, it takes some experimenting, but you could do like how you have large sections and you have the marker streaks, unless you have a brush tip on your marker. But to get rid of those streaks, you could take a Q-tip or a cotton swab and a little tiny bit of alcohol. It's almost like painting with it. And you pick it in there and you brush it on there, and it'll make your background kind of look like a watercolor effect.
Interesting.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. I'll have to try that out.
Yep.
The next time I'm experimenting.
I don't either.
I don't use natural media very often.
Yeah.
It's basically when I'm doing commission work, or I'm doing the very rare instances where I do fan art, which doesn't happen very often. But I have been doing some fan art lately, which is nice. Sometimes it's fun just to like have an excuse to just try something different, change up that routine, because that's one of the things that, especially with making comics, it's such a grind. It's very easy to burn out. And doing different things can really help prevent that a little bit.
Cool. All right, time for the PBS pledge, or are we getting near the end of our time here? Because it's 9:39 here.
Yeah, I think my voice is starting to go. You hear all these additional sniffles and stuff, which again, with the new Zencaster, all that would be neatly edited out. But with our current system, it's all in there. Every harumph and sniffle.
You explained it earlier, but we could recap real quick. Yeah, we've reached our first goal of 300, so that allows us to get the Zencaster subscription, which Robin explained very well last time. That each person on the podcast, the audio is recorded locally in very good crystal clear audio, as they say, and then uploaded and synchronized, and then Robin or I or whoever can edit and each individual track, so we can take out her sniffles or whatever, that kind of stuff, and equalize the voices. And so it's going to be a tremendously much better sounding podcast and a little more reliable than Skype would die out of
some episodes.
Yeah, we
lost a lot of episodes last year. A lot of them were some of the, like, often when we had guests on and they were like, "Oh, I'm so excited to listen to this."
Nope. I know that the one
lost time.
Yeah. And it's terrible.
We did an anniversary show. That was the one that hit the hardest.
That crushed me.
Oh, God.
The fifth one. We had us all on and nothing. And
not just all like current. We had everybody who'd ever been
everyone.
On the show
Every old Alliance. Yeah, remember, it was great.
Oh, my God.
It was amazing.
It was destroyed.
It was for us, but not for anybody else. And that's why we're doing this Zencaster thing, is so we can have this stuff backed up, and we won't potentially lose it because Skype or whatever gets upset, or Google. And then the next goal that we're 50% to is getting new headsets and microphones, microphone combinations, or whatever people want. I have a pretty decent mic right now, but as Robin is eating cord and and we'll get the better sounding mics, and that'll help them with the Zencaster stuff. And then if we get beyond that, then if Robin needs a new laptop for editing and software, we can go with that stretch goal as well. So that's what we're doing this for. We've been doing it for 7 years. We've never asked for any money. Our site's free, always will be. I don't believe in putting educational stuff behind a paywall. And yes, as a jab at other people, so they can take it and shove it. Seriously, because I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong for education. I mean, it's right for them to make money, but it's wrong when it comes to education. If you've got something to share, why would you want to? I'm sorry. That's what the internet is for.
It's a different tactic. I understand it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm a businessman, but it irritates me because they make fun of us, It's not what we're about, and that's okay. It's a different. Again,
all paths.
I'm sorry, I
all
ranted.
paths. It's okay. You got your dander up, and it's all right. It's all right to get your dander up. I'm just saying that what I would prefer to focus on is what we are about, rather than what we're not about.
Yes.
Because I said before, we're very much about everybody's got a path. Everybody's got their own way of finding ways to make this work, and we are not here to say we are the experts. We are here to say we are figuring this out too, and we hope that we can share our experiences and help you guys feel less alone out there, because making webcomics it can often feel very much like shouting into a void. And I know that for me, the years before I joined the Alliance, you guys were kind of my tether, because I was in a job that I hated, doing work that I felt was not meaningful, and making a comic was the only thing that made me feel like I was contributing anything to the world. But especially when you start out, you don't have a community built, you don't have readership built, and it can feel very lonely and isolating, and it can feel like I'm the only one who has these kinds of problems and questions.
Yeah.
And I know for me, finding the Webcomic Alliance and hearing people, even if it wasn't the same kind of experience, having similar experiences, kept me in the game, so to speak. And I hope that we can be that for other people. So if you have enjoyed, felt a sense of camaraderie, gotten a tip that helped you, or just been encouraged to try out this crazy thing called webcomics because you've listened to us, please consider jumping onto the Kickstarter and helping us reach those next goals. Can I share with you guys my we haven't talked about this, so this isn't something that's guaranteed, but this is sort of my secret dream, like big time stretch goal. Can I share with you guys with that?
Sure, go ahead.
And I'm not saying we're all committed to it. I'm just saying this is something I wanted to float by everybody, and why not now? Since the very first Webcomic Alliance group was at C2E2, I would love to get to a stretch goal where we could all do a live show at C2E2. Because we talked about how Liz is the only person who's met all of us.
I am on this. I am on this with you, Robin. That would be awesome.
It would be amazing, and I would love to finally meet everybody in person and do a panel live show where we all could actually meet people who are listeners, meet each other, and basically throw a big live party.
Yeah.
That to me is like, I mean, I haven't run the numbers on it, but that's sort of my.
It's not as bad as you think. It's not as bad as you think, because there's, anyway, because Dawn, the other Robin, Dawn is wonderful at setting up the Airbnbs. And so, I mean, so we're quite an organized group when we want to. And I think it's a great idea. And, we could get Tom to fly out and help us with the panel, because he's a tremendous host at these panels, asks great questions. And obviously we love listening to him. And I think it's a great idea for the six of us, to get together. It's kind of in the center of the country, so it's, and
so,
of course,
first we got to get to that.
Well, yeah, we'll get there, but it'd be tremendous.
If you're sitting there going, I don't know if they need us, but you think that that's a cool idea and you'd like to listen to that show, that's something that we could go for. Like there are a lot of options that this could potentially open up, and we would love to have you be part of this journey. We've been doing it for 7 years, and I hope that we can do it for 7 more times 7 more. I hope that we can all grow old and die together as comic creators.
I will be being 60. I'll be the first one.
Nah, you'll get fully replaced by robotic parts. You'll be fine.
Yes, that's right. And just to put a hint out there, April 6th to the 8th, 2018 is C2E2 here in Chicago. So we could do this. Anyway, but we'll get the new microphones first.
But hey,
first we got to get mics that don't require consumption in order to use them.
I was gonna say that is just I'm glad you brought that up, Robin. That would be super cool. People who know me know I'm pretty much locked in on the East Coast. Farthest I've ever been, thanks to Dawn, was Cleveland. But so, you know, Chicago would be the farthest I would ever have gone to a convention. So that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's also an area that I know that I have readers in, and I have never had a chance to visit. And I would love to get out and meet some of these people that I've built this, you know, relationship with over comments over several years.
And Midwest people are very friendly and open people compared to others. I mean, you know, it's such a great environment. Not that other conventions aren't. Conventions are normally very open and all that, but the city environment as well, the area you're in, like New York is New York, and you know, that kind of and all that. But Chicago, the people here in the Midwest, it's a really cool place to hang out as well, and there's lots to do, and it's easy to get around. I've driven in LA and I've driven in New York and I've driven in Chicago, and oh my God, you can get around in Chicago. You can't even drive in LA. And I've been fortunate enough that I've done both coasts. I did Seattle there with Christina and Ryan, and then I've done New York Comic Con with Dawn, and I've been in between, and I love this area. And of course I live here now. Next year, by this time, I'll be in North Carolina, but I'll come back. I mean, it's an easy 8-hour drive.
Oh, well,
you can tell us where all the good haunts are.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
There,
North Carolina, Byron, we switch it from C2E2 to AwesomeCon.
Well, yeah.
Or Heroes.
Or Heroes.
Heroes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Heroes would be a fantastic place. I don't know.
You guys pick out a con. You know, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, C2E2 is great because I happen to live here, but you know, whatever you guys want to do. But Rob and I have thought of that as well. I think we all have. I think it would be phenomenal stretch goal, not necessarily maybe, you know, for this or whatever, if we do another one and raise the money.
Because that's where we were born. Group, the idea for our group was born in C2E2.
Yes, and it'd be great to come back. It would be great to come back to it, and I would love the idea of getting together. And April's not, you know, it's doable. Whatever. Anyway,
so it's just something I'm floating out there because I think it would be neat.
And we can run that by people too. Yeah.
But we'll see where this Kickstarter goes. Thank you again to everyone the 18 people that have pledged so far. You guys are awesome.
Yes.
If you're listening to this, thank you so much for making it possible for us to keep going and not on, you know, gum and duct tape. We really do need the help right now, and we appreciate you being there and answering that call because that's awesome.
Very cool. Yes, it is.
And I cut you off, Don. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, I was just thinking about imagining all of us up on a panel at a convention and people coming to it and seeing us and being like, yes, this is what I want to do, and these people know what they're doing, and I'm going to listen to them. And I was flashing back to one of the first conventions I ever went to, which wasn't a traditional convention. It was up in, before PAX was PAX, up in the Northeast. New Hampshire, New England, I forget what it was even called, but it was I think it was hosted by the Penny Arcade guys or the Half Pixel guys. But this is where I met Ken. Yes, that's what it was called. Webcomics Weekend. And I drove up there with some people that I just happened to know from like Drunk Duck or whatever. People for the first time at that show. But I went to a live recording by the Half Pixel guys. And, you know, looking up there on stage and being like, these people know what they're doing. These are the pioneers of this field of webcomics, and I want to do. And just thinking about how long ago that was and how different just the industry was, like just our field is, like what webcomics are about, and where those guys have gone, and I was then versus where like we are all now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
well, one of the things
humbling, weird, and crazy just to think about that.
One of the things I want to talk about because we're going to do some mini interviews to post while these are running, and I would love to talk with everybody about how things have changed since you started doing comics, because I think there's some really interesting shifts to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of us have been doing this for like a decade now or longer. And a lot has changed.
Oh, my God. And only in 10 years, which is an amazing thing now, you know, because a decade doesn't seem that long, but it is a long time, but it's not in the general scheme of things. But it is so much has changed. You know, it's like, and to the better too. I think better. I think we're better accepted. I think, you know, there's a more, you know, a bigger audience and a much bigger pond for people to swim in, and you can get a better audience, you know, bigger audience. No, I shouldn't say faster, but you can get a bigger audience today. I think you could 10 years ago because people are more aware and stuff like that. So I think it's great. Hello.
So I think that we'll wrap it up for tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us. The people who are live in the chat.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and I kind of enjoyed having the video that I could be like, oh, check out these things that I use. Like, it's a kind of a unique opportunity that we don't normally have. So, yeah, I had a great time tonight, guys. I hope you did too.
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. Thank you.
Indeed. Yes, thank you guys. And thanks to all the backers.
Oh yeah.
I felt like I needed to chime in and save myself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun, and the video aspect really makes it different than what we're normal. So that was a cool little aspect too.
Yeah, it's a little.
That's why I turned my video camera on. I want to be part of this party.
Oh yeah. Because people will get to see what's all behind us. You know, there's a 3D printer. There's my models back there, and there's stuff in your room, and
I know
my comics.
My comics. All of Don's comics. That's right.
You go, man. My room isn't as messy as his.
Well, the judgment starts to come out now.
That's why it's dark, so you can't see all the crap on the floor. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was just to give an air of mystery.
Yeah, I should have had my bass out. Damn it. Oh well. Anyway. All right.
You wear like a dark shirt, so you're like,
I feel like
a floating head sometimes. Like, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like he's Johnny Fever there.
I know who you're talking about. WKRP. Yeah. Boogers. Anyway. It's an old joke. Sorry. Here we go. All right. So we're saying goodnight like we're relatives leaving at Christmas. Get the fuck out the door. Let's go.
Yeah, leave.
All right. All right. Good night, everybody.
Play us out, man.
Okay. See you.